Welcome back to the Todd, Durkin Impact Show, and I hope you're having an amazing day. Speaking of amazing, you're in for a real treat today. I've got my new friend Rory Vaden on today's show, and we're talking about something near and dear to my heart. It's all about building an influential and impactful personal brand. And one of the common questions I always get is like, hey, TD, how do you build your brand? How do you take it from what you had as a small training studio that started at, 1,800 square feet, and now you've got, a fitness business, and you got a mastermind, and you've got Impact X, and you got all these other coaching programs and speaking, and how do you do what you do? Well, let me tell you, it is a lot of hard work, but there's also a lot of strategy behind it. And one of the men behind a lot of folks, and I'm just getting to know this guy, and I can't wait to go even deeper with him because he is impacting the universe when it comes to evangelizing impact and influence. And remember the name Rory Vaden. Get ready to take copious notes today, and Rory's going to be joining us here. And check this out. This is Rory's background. I'm going to brag on Rory a little bit. Here it is. Two-time New York Times bestseller, Take the Stairs, 7 Steps to Achieving True Success, and Procrastinate on Purpose, 5 Permissions to Multiply Your Time. You got to listen to his TED Talk, by the way, How to Multiply Time. I listened to it for a second time just today prior to me recording this here, and let me tell you, you got to listen to that. Hall of Fame speaker, 2-time world champion of public speaking finalist, the co-founder of Brand Builders Group. Remember the name Brand Builders Group that he co-founded with his wife, AJ. He's helped the likes of Eric Thomas, E.T., the hip-hop preacher. Yeah, him. He was on a previous podcast. Ed Mylett, John Gordon, who was on a previous podcast episode, and Lewis Howes, who just happened to have an amazing book launch, and Rory and his amazing team were behind. I'm hoping he can help me get to that level as well. He's an author, a strategist, an entrepreneur, and he's a father and a husband. And let me tell you what, this man is so special. It is great to have the one, the only, Rory Vaden on today's show. Rory, welcome, brother.
Thanks, Todd. That's the most impossibly high bar introduction that I've ever had. So that is so good, man. Thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Well, that's what the Impact Show is all about, brother. We try to motivate and inspire the world to be better human beings. And
amen.
We've got some amazing people who are digging deep, Rory. And when it comes to whether it be their own health, their own fitness, their own mindset, their own heart set or soul set, my hope is that today is we're going to do 2 things. We're going to, number one, I want to get people to know who you are. And I do want to talk about branding because this is your expertise. And I believe that the more we can take great personal brands or corporate brands, get them out into the universe. If there's ever a time the world needs more positivity and impact, it's now. And Rory Vaden, you're one of the guys who can really help people scale that. Before we go there, though, I need to know your backstory, your family life. You're a dad of 2 kids. You're a husband. Take us on your journey of parenting and how your childhood impacted how you father your 2 sons today.
Sure. Well, I was raised by a single mom.
Okay.
My mom, by age 22, my mom had been divorced twice, and she had 2 kids from 2 different dads. And she hadn't finished high school back then. She later went back and got a GED and went to college. But we lived in a trailer outside of Boulder, Colorado, and just didn't grow up with much. And my mom got plugged in with Mary Kay Cosmetics.
Yep.
And she started learning about personal development, and she would bring home these books about time management and goals and success. And she would bring me to the meetings because she didn't have childcare coverage. And so I would be at these meetings on these like Tuesday nights in the back of the room. And, they're talking about positive mental attitude and thinking big. And I think that was my first exposure to personal development and success. And I've just been infatuated with influence specifically because I didn't have any, right? We had no money.
Yep.
I got made fun of all the time because I wore the same clothes to school every day, right? I didn't I didn't have, we didn't have a lot of nice things. And so I ended up getting into martial arts. I got a black belt when I was 10 years old. So I was the youngest black belt in Colorado to ever get beaten up by a girl. And I became infatuated with just success in general.
Yep.
Ended up getting a full ride scholarship to Denver University, DU.
Yeah.
Dollars unlimited, as I like to call it. And I got a full ride scholarship. So I went to college there, and then I got involved in direct sales to pay my living expenses. And I went door to door for 5 years, 14 hours a day, 6 days a week on straight commission for 5 summers when I was in college and graduate school. I made about $250,000 in 5 summers from doing that. I then took that money. We started our first company, which was a sales training company. And we grew that to about 200 people. It was an 8-figure business. A woman that I met in that journey was one of my business partners. A guy I knew from college introduced me to her, and she was our business partner. I ended up marrying her. We grew the company. We sold it in 2018. And then we started Brand Builders Group because through the course of that, I'd have a TED Talk gone viral. I became a New York Times bestselling author at 29. I got inducted into the Professional Speaking Hall of Fame at 37. And I had become friends with a guy named Lewis Howes.
Yep.
I had been on his show, and I'd helped him with his first book launch. And we, when we sold our first business, it was very unexpected, and it was very sudden. It was very quick. And Lewis called me the day that we exited the company, like to the day. And he said, I know we haven't talked in a couple of years. I feel like I need your help, though. My brand is growing a lot. We're reaching a lot of people, but I'm working like crazy. I'm scattered all over the place. I don't know what I should be focusing on. I don't have a good long-term strategy. And he said, do you have any time that you would be willing to coach me on this? And it was like, yeah, we're wide open. So Lewis came to our house here at the house. And we spent a couple of days mapping out his whole strategy. And at that time he had about 30, he had like 30 million podcast downloads. So he was already growing a lot, but he had 17 revenue streams. He was working like crazy. And he was talking about all different types of topics and things in the show. And we told him to reduce his revenue streams from 17 down to 3.
Wow.
And to cut everything he was doing except the podcast itself. And so this is one of our core philosophies, is that many people fail, Todd, because they have too many topics. They have too many business models, too many revenue streams. They're trying to be in too many places, too many platforms. And when you have diluted focus, you get diluted results. And that was a concept from Take the Stairs. If you have diluted focus, you get diluted results. Well, with Lewis, we applied that to his revenue streams. And it was scary because we cut his business down more than $1 million in revenue, shut it down like pretty much overnight. And at that point, the podcast was a traffic source for him. And we said, hey, we think the podcast could be your thing. What if you just went all in on the podcast? And to his credit, he did. He sacrificed a bunch of money, went all in on the podcast. And over the next 2.5 years, he went from 30 million downloads to 500 million downloads.
No way.
And he broke through the wall, as we call it. He actually the Entrepreneur Magazine just did a cover story on Lewis last week. He tells this whole story out in his words in the magazine. And Lewis was the one. When we sold our last company, we had no social media following. We sold my old podcast, my email list, everything was gone, and we had no following. And Lewis was the one that said, this is your new business. This has been so transformational. I'm going to have you on my podcast, and we're going to tell the whole world. And so Lewis was the one who told us that this was going to be our business. And then we had over 1,000 leads come in within a few weeks from being on his show, and Brand Builders Group has started from there. And so we're now 4 years in the business. We're back at 8 figures. We have about 36 employees. We have 600 monthly coaching clients. We have private clients like Ed Mylett, Amy Porterfield, Eric Thomas, Tom and Lisa Bilyeu, lots of John Gordon, and just lots of really, really awesome people. And
let's add Todd Durkin to that list here soon.
Todd Durkin, come on, Todd, come on, man, get on the train.
Hey, Rory, I'm almost afraid to come to Nashville to see you guys. Louis, like 17, I'm like, dude, that's where I'm at. I can't imagine going down to 3 aspects of business, right? But you always talk about unification and, what your divine authenticity, and then I'm like, wow, like uniqueness, right? You call it define what your divine uniqueness.
Yeah. And that's the best piece of personal branding advice I've ever received. And this one's not actually a Rory Vaden or Brand Builders Group quote, but early in my career, there was a gentleman named Larry Winget who told me,
I remember him.
He said the goal is to find your uniqueness and exploit it in the service of others. Find your uniqueness and exploit it in the service of others. And so what we did when we started Brand Builders Group was we created a process to help people find their uniqueness, and then a whole system to help them exploit it in the service of others, to reach more people, to grow their influence, to grow their impact, to grow their revenue, but to grow their reputation.
Yeah. Rory, there's so much to unpack there, but I want to go back. I should probably ask Lewis this question, but I'm going to ask you. Going from 17 revenue streams to 3.
Yeah.
Takes a lot. If we can go into the depth of the soul here, it takes a lot of trust. It's scary. You're giving up what you built, and you're trusting Rory and his group here, saying, "Oh, I want you to cut over $1 million in revenue, because if you do, you could 2, 3, 10, 17x that." What was that like? Do you remember, for Lewis and even yourself as a coach to one of the top influencers in the world?
Yeah. I mean, it's scary. I mean, it's, that early testimonial from Lewis was like, yeah, we hired Rory. He cut our revenue in half in less than 30 days. Like, it was like, oh man, it wasn't us. Right. And Lewis is successful for many, many more reasons beyond just us. Like, he was already a Rolling Stone. And that's true about so many of our clients, Todd. Like, we get a lot of credit. I mean, Ed Mylett, I mean, come on, like, we did nothing to help that dude. Like, we did teach him a lot about his book launch, and he was very generous with how we helped him. And we did help him pre-sell 117,000 units of his book. And he didn't really have a plan before he met us. Like, so, but I mean, Ed Mylett didn't need anybody. Like, he's just crushing, right? That guy's a beast. So,
yeah. I want to talk about that later in the show with that, how you sold 117,000 books.
Copies. And Eric Thomas did it too. We had 2 book launches last year with clients that followed our system that sold over 100,000 copies. So we've had 12 clients now that have become New York Times, Wall Street Journal, or USA Today bestselling authors since working with us. We have 4 clients that have created TED Talks that have gone viral with more than 1 million views. And we have 5 clients, not counting Lewis. If we count Lewis, it's be 6, who have grown their revenue more than $1 million a year since working with us. Lewis's story, it actually, the conclusion of that story was just this last fall. He sold the podcast to SiriusXM for many, many millions of dollars. And it was a really great day, testimony to his discipline. So, we offer insights. We have exercises. Ultimately, we don't make decisions for people. They make them themselves. They pray on them. They reflect, they go with their gut instinct. And a lot of them, just have a great instinct already by the time they get to us. But it was scary. And there was, at the time, I was helping Lewis run his mastermind. So he had one revenue stream that was over $1 million just by itself. So people paid about $50,000 to be in this private mastermind. And I was helping Lewis run it because we have lots of content. And so I was like filling some of the days with the teaching. And I was there the day that we announced it together. We were actually at the front of the room telling all these people, we are disbanding this mastermind effective today. Like, this is the last day. And I mean, he shut it down like that, said bye-bye to $1 million. And it takes some big cojones, as we say in my culture, to do that kind of a thing. Like, but on the one hand, you go, well, that's crazy. Like, how would you cut from 17 revenue streams down to 3? But on the other hand, think about this. How successful would you be if you only did one thing? Like, if you put all of your time and energy and effort and resources into doing one thing, the likelihood of that one thing succeeding is infinitely higher than you trying to take limited resources, limited time, limited skills, limited team, and put it into 17 things.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
scary in the short term, but in the long term, it's actually not that unpredictable. It's
Yeah.
kind of like, well, of course he succeeded. He went all in on the one thing.
Yeah. You said a word there that's probably one of your superpowers because you wrote a book on it. You've mentioned it already a few times. You said the word discipline. In your first book, Take the Stairs, it was all about discipline, and discipline is so important to you specifically individually. I think discipline is something when we look at, I talk about habits all the time. I talk about routines all the time. You talked about, in the brand builders group, there's a system that you've got to be disciplined to follow if you want to get the results that, you and your team get. Talk about discipline for a moment with yourself and with brand builders group and your clients as well.
Yeah, I mean, discipline was how I broke through the wall. In fact, procrastination was how I broke through the wall. That's what we call the problem, and my uniqueness was discipline. And that was my first book, Take the Stairs. It was how to overcome procrastination and make self-discipline easier. And still to that day, that book sells really, really well. And so, there I was studying just the mindsets of ultra performers, and one of the 7 principles is called the paradox principle of sacrifice.
Yeah.
And it was realizing that what ultra performers know is that easy short-term choices lead to difficult long-term consequences. Meanwhile, difficult short-term choices lead to easy long-term consequences. So the great paradox here is what seems difficult in the short term is actually what creates the easier life, and what seems easy or what seems hard in the short term is actually what creates the easy life. So procrastination is really nothing more than a creditor that charges you interest.
Yeah.
And
love it.
So coming off of that and applying that then to business and personal branding is you go, yeah, it's much easier to talk about 100 different things and whatever comes to the top of your mind. It's much more difficult to say, I'm going to own this topic. I'm going to dedicate my life. And this is the first question. There's 14 different 2-day experiences in the brand builder journey. Like that's what if you went through everything we have, it's 14 different 2-day experiences. But the very first question of the very first day of the very first curriculum starts with one question. And most people can't even answer this one question. And they struggle to get past the very first step. Which is, what problem do you solve for the world in one word? What problem do you solve? And most people cannot answer that question. They say 20 different things, or it's a little bit of this and a little bit of that, or, well, I don't want to just do this because I also want to serve this audience. But when you look at the people who break through the wall, Brene Brown is a great example.
Yes.
She built her career on shame, studying shame. She never wanted to be a famous person. She wanted to rid the world of shame, help people get through that. Dave Ramsey built a multi-9-figure business. He only for 30 years on the radio has talked about one problem, debt. He gets people debt free. Tony Robbins dedicated his life to ridding people of pain. And this extends to, Mother Teresa dedicated her life to ridding the world of poverty. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. dedicated his life to ridding the world of inequality. What problem are you willing to dedicate your life to? Where would you plant your flag on a hill and say, I will either solve this problem or I will die here? That's what it takes to break through the wall. That's where uniqueness lives. That's where the fire and the passion comes from. And as we say, that is God's divine design of your humanity. And that is what you gotta get tapped into to break through the wall.
Man, I got goosebumps right now. God, that was good. Folks, replay that right there. Start banging out some push-ups and pick up your sprint up the hill. Because Rory, that was awesome. That was awesome. What's the problem that you solve? And can you get it into one word?
Yeah, right. And it's like Jesus comes down to earth to solve the problem of sin. Like gives his life for sin. Like, I am going to take the sin of the world upon me. Gone. Like, so there's a model, right? Regardless of your religious or spiritual beliefs, there's like there is this model of just going, what is the thing that you're going to solve for the world? And you break through the wall. The irony is, by narrowing your focus, you reach more people. And that's the irony.
I was going to ask that. Why is it so hard? Why is it so hard to keep it so simple, right? We want to make it complex and have 25 different offerings. Why is it so hard? Lack of discipline? Lack of focus?
I think it's because it's easier. Distraction is easier.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Distraction is easier. Like,
it's good.
Why aren't we focused in anything? Like, we're just, it's easier to be distracted. It's easy to be distracted. It's easier than ever to be distracted, right? But precision is power. Focus is power. And that requires discipline.
So let's dive deeper. Someone wants to change the world. Someone wants to be an influence. Someone wants to be a game changer and develop a brand that's impactful. Maybe someone listening in has a brand. Maybe someone wants to have a more impactful and influential brand. Can you please define what is branding? What is, when someone says, I want to develop my personal brand? How would you define what is a brand?
Yeah, well, we should talk about that, and then we should also talk about how do you change the world? Like, what does it take to change the world? That's a good follow-up question. So,
amen.
So first of all, when people hear brand, they think all the wrong things, according to us, right? So this is the world according to Brand Builders Group. When people think brand, they think logos, colors, websites, iconography, fonts, social media, funnels,
exactly.
Yeah, email marketing, books, and all of those things are part of a brand. But the reason it's so complicated is because it's so much junk. When you hear the word brand, here's the word that we use that we think is a much better descriptor of what brand is. Reputation.
Bingo.
Personal branding is simply the digitization of reputation. It matters. What is your reputation? What are you known for? What are you trusted for? What are you an expert on? Like the colors and the logos and the websites and the hacks and the Facebook ads, like all of those are tactics that are so trivial compared to what is your uniqueness? What is the essence of you? And what do you want to be known for? So it's brand is really, personal branding is the digitization of reputation. And some people have been poo-pooing on all the like, oh, I don't like social media and marketing automation and all that stuff because they associate it with either like distraction or vanity, and some of those things are true. But the reason it matters is because of something we call the reputation formula. So reputation could be subdivided into a formula that your results times reach equal reputation. Results times reach equals reputation. So Mother Teresa had huge positive results times huge worldwide reach. So she has a huge reputation. Adolf Hitler had huge negative results times worldwide reach. He has a huge negative reputation. Michael Phelps, you probably heard of. Who's Michael Phelps, Todd? Tell us.
Olympic swimmer, all-time number of gold medals in the U.S.
Bingo. Winningest gold medal Olympian of all time of any country.
Yep.
He's from the U.S. and he's a swimmer. Now, this is not a trick question.
Under Armour athlete, by the way. Got to throw that UA plug in there.
I like that. So, and then this is not a trick question, but when I say the name Jenny Thompson, do you know who Jenny Thompson is? Like, is there a person immediately comes to your mind of like, this is a Jenny Thompson?
No.
Yeah. My guess is that for you listening, it doesn't either. I say Michael Phelps, you go, I know exactly who Michael Phelps is. Jenny Thompson is the winningest female Olympian of all time. She is also from the United States. She is also a swimmer.
Interesting.
Jenny Thompson has the same results at the world's greatest stage in the most comparable way. She has the same results as Michael Phelps, but her reach, for whatever reason, neither of them are clients of ours, is much, much less. And this is why most of our clients are not the Ed Myletts and the Lewis Howes of the world and the Amy Porterfields and the Jasmine Stars and the, like, those are all clients of ours. But most of our clients, which is like the 600 people we work with, they are the people who I would put into a category. Often they are like the world's best kept secret. They have all these results, because if you said which one matters more, results or reach, I came up sort of from the old school, a little bit, like the baby boomer mindset of like, what matters is your results, your character, your integrity. What have you done? Like, what are you made of? Like your actual expertise, that's what matters. Yet we know that people become billionaires because of their reach, and that they don't have results. In fact, their personal lives are a disaster, a complete chaotic mess, right? They don't have character. They struggle with all sorts of indulgence, but they have massive reach. So you don't want to be the world's best kept secret.
Truth.
Right? If you're solving a problem for the world, it's not only a bad strategy to be the world's best kept secret, it's dishonoring. Yeah. It's disgusting. If I had the cure for cancer and I had solved it and I never shared it with anybody, I kept it to myself, I hid it, that would be a dishonoring thing to do to humanity. To solve a problem and then keep it to myself. And this is the issue, is that we're the best kept secret because we poo-poo on vanity, or we don't want to do the work, or we don't want to learn something new, or I don't have time, or I don't have the team. We come up with all these excuses. Well, we're making excuses for not doing the reach side of the work, which we need to do. But going back to your question that you were almost asking about, how do you change the world?
Amen.
People ask the wrong question. They say things like, how do I grow? How do I become more influential? How do I become more well-known? How do I make a bigger difference in the world? They're not bad questions. Or they'll ask this question. They'll say, what is my purpose? All of those are self-centered stances.
True.
Me, I, my. How do I make more impact? Da, 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 da. And what I would propose to you is that if you want to change the world, you have to move from self-centeredness to service-centeredness. You have to move away from what does this mean for me, and what is available for me, and what is possible to me. And you have to throw yourself relentlessly in an unconditional, uncompromising way to how can I be of value to the world? You don't find your purpose by saying, what's my purpose? You find your purpose by saying, how can I help? You don't find your why by asking, what is my why? You find your why by asking, who can I serve? For almost all of us, our why is a who, right? Simon Sinek says, start with why. Right. I love Simon Sinek. I think he's brilliant. I love Start With Why. I love the book. I love him. He's one of my favorite authors. What I will say, though, is that for most of us, our why is not a why. Our why is a who. It's a person. It's our kids. It's our parents. It's our siblings. It's our colleagues. It's this child at this nonprofit. It is, and if it is a personal brand, you have to figure out not only what problem do I want to solve for the world, you got to figure out who do I want to dedicate my life to serving? What group of people is worth my life? What section of society am I willing to relentlessly dedicate my gifts and talents to serving? And I'll tell you the secret. I'll tell you the secret right here, Todd, because there is a secret and people want to know, okay, Rory, like, what's the shortcut? How do I get there, right? You go, okay, I know you have 14 different 2 days experiences. I'm sure they're amazing. I'd love to go through them, but like, is there a shortcut to finding my uniqueness? And there is one. And we didn't know it when we started the company, but we do now after we've taken hundreds of people through this process. And I'll tell you what it is, because this is exactly what we train our strategists to do when they're coaching people, because we do all one-on-one coaching, like we do human-based stuff. And here it is. So it's realizing that you are most powerfully positioned to serve the person you once were.
Ooh.
You are most powerfully positioned to serve the person that you once were. The hint, the shortcut is to go, who was I? What challenge have I conquered? What problem have I pushed past? What obstacle have I overcome? What setback have I survived? What tragedy have I triumphed? Whatever pain you have gone through has prepared you and turned you into the person that you needed to be to help someone else who's struggling with that problem. You are most powerfully positioned to serve the person you once were.
That is so good. Interesting question for you, because as people are listening in, and this is game-changing content for anyone, do you feel that everyone has or needs a personal brand?
Everybody has a personal brand because everyone has a reputation.
Amen.
Right. Yep. So it's kind of like saying, do you need a reputation? I mean, it's, you don't need one, you have one, you need a good one. Like, ideally you would have a good one. So ideally you would have a good brand, because people need to know who you are online as well as offline. Otherwise it's like you don't have an online reputation, which means you don't have reach, which means your overall reputation is less, which means your impact is less. Doesn't mean you're less important of a person per se. It doesn't mean you're have less value as a human, but it does mean you have less influence, you're lesser known, and it does mean you probably are making lesser impact on the world. You're not affecting as many lives as you want to be, or as you could be, or as you are called to be, or as you were created to be.
Preach it. Yeah. And I've heard you talk about this, Rory, but it doesn't matter your occupation. Some people think, oh, I'm not an influencer, or I'm not a social media influencer, but you talk about how doctors need a great reputation. Trainers need a great reputation. Sales men and women need a great reputation. So regardless of your career, you've got to develop and build and create that reputation that's going to allow you to continue to excel, to scale and reach the number of people that you want to impact. So I really like that. You also talk about brand builders. You mentioned some of the top names. I just want to make sure that people understand, do you just work with these quote famous people who already have good brands you want to take great, or are you working out of those 600 people that maybe only have 500 or 1,000 or 1,500 followers, but have a big dream and a big vision to change the world? Is the brand builders group also working with someone who doesn't have the influence yet that wants to really scale that?
That's almost exclusively who we work with. I mean, 5% of our clients are the people that you hear, the Peter Diamondises of the world, and like those people. And most of those people would have been successful without it. They already were successful by the time they got to us. Now we might have helped accelerate some things, in specific areas maybe, or we help, they give us a lot of credit. Like, you can listen to Amy Porterfield's talk about working with us, or Eric Thomas, like they give us a lot more credit, but like Jennifer Cohen is someone that a lot of people didn't know a few years ago. And then we helped her with a TED Talk. Her TED Talk went viral. She then got a huge podcast deal with Entrepreneur Magazine. And then she got a book deal. I think it was with HarperCollins, and she just had her book come out. Like, we have those stories of people who are lesser known. That's mostly who we work with. And they don't have to have 500 followers. They might have 0. A lot of people we work with are still at a day job, and they just have a dream, and they're going, how do I do this? And where do I start? And, what does it take to be a speaker or an author or a coach? And by the way, a lot of the people we work with too are not speaker, author, coaches. They are entrepreneurs. They're professional service providers. They're accountants. They're doctors. They're lawyers. They are fitness trainers, and they're chiropractors, and they're just using their personal brand to drive leads for their business, the thing they already have. They're not going, oh, I need to be, it's not like you have to write a book. They're going, how do I use my reputation, and how do I digitize my knowledge and my reputation to drive more leads to our firm, or to our practice, or to our brick and mortar shop? Like, that's what it's about. So yeah.
So good. Before, I don't want to wait till the end of the show. If someone wants to hop on with someone on your team for a call, I understand you offer complimentary sessions to do that. What's the best way that someone could reach out to you and your team?
Sure. Yeah. So we do the first call for free with everybody.
Love it.
So if you go to freebrandcall.com/Durkin, so this is your last name, Durkin. So freebrandcall.com/Durkin. You can read about us a little bit, and you can request a call. And so, because we do coaching, right? So we have some video training, but that's supplement to our experience. We do training, like small group training and coaching. But even at our live events, we have like 50 people who come to our events, every month, but they all sit in round tables of like 5 or 6 people with one of our strategists, and they're getting one-on-one attention in very, very small groups.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, that's how we talk to people, because to find someone's uniqueness, you can't really do it yourself. Even if we guide you through the exercises, it's incredibly difficult to take yourself through it and find it. You can make a lot of progress, but the way to do it is, to spend some time with somebody. But yeah, so
listen to Rory. If you want to up your influence and your impact when it comes to brand building, just check that out. freebrandcall.com/Durkin. So that they know all my followers are coming on over, and they're going to take great care of them. Now, full transparency, this is a really cool story, because one of my former clients, Bob Wheatley was a pitcher at USC with his brother Brent. I trained them for a number of years while they were in college, and I'm really proud of Bob, because Bob's gone on to do great things after his career in professional baseball. Heck, I've had him on the podcast here. He actually works at the Brand Builders Group, and he is the one who connected Rory and I and said, you need to have Rory on the show. We can help any of your people who want to amp up their own brand. So huge shout out to my man Bob Wheatley, and to the
Bob.
No, it's the truth. You know that. I mean, you talk about
stud.
Part of the cloth. I mean, that brother is on fire, and he's a great teammate. It brings me honor to do that. So go to freebrandcall.com/Durkin and make sure you connect with a teammate there. My last questions revolve around this. I want to talk about books. I love books. I've written 4 books. You've written some New York Times bestseller books. I'm part of a publishing company that helps people discover their books. But I want to pick your brains for a moment. What are maybe 2, 3, or 4 of your top tactics, to-dos or not to-dos when it comes to launching a book? You guys are the king of this, but I want to make sure, what are a few of the lessons you learned? Do this or don't do that when it comes to launching a book.
Sure. I mean, we
could have a whole podcast on this.
One of our 2-day experiences is called Bestseller Launch Plan. So one of our 14 is literally a 2-day experience on just this topic. How do you sell books and run a book launch? So it is a big topic, but I'll say the number one mistake is that authors think that somebody else is going to sell their book for them.
True.
And they think the publisher, if they get a publishing deal, that's going to do something. It does not. Here's what you need to know. Writers write, editors edit, publishers publish, distributors distribute, retailers retail, and nobody freaking sells the book. Like, nobody actually says, like, this book, Take the Stairs, this is a great freaking book. You got to buy this book. If you're struggling with procrastination, like, you need this book. This book will light you on fire. Every teammate you have, your kids need to read it. Like, no one does that. Right. So guess who gets to do that? Falls back on the author. So you got to understand that. Okay. So that's the first thing. The other thing, great lesson here. This is from Robert Kiyosaki. So when Rich Dad Poor Dad came out, apparently there was this writer from some major publication who was like backstage with Robert at some point and interviewed him and said, I don't think your writing is that book, I don't think your writing is that good. I don't think this book is that good. I've lots of people have talked about these concepts. And Robert famously said to him, he said, well, that's okay, because it's not called New York Times Best Writing Author. It's called New York Times Best Selling Author.
Awesome.
So you got to sell, sister. Like, you got to get the word out. So the mindset here all along is going, the mantra of the starving artist is, my art is so good, people should have to find it. Well, that's a pretty self-centered place to stand. And my guess is it's not serving you that well.
Amen.
Like, the reality is there's a bunch of noise. There's a bunch of things competing for attention. One of my mentors, Jay Bear, says, today, you're not just competing against other people who do what you do. You're competing against everything else that competes for attention. So you're competing against fantasy football and viral videos and cute puppy dogs and going outside on a walk and Netflix. Like, you're competing against everything that competes for attention. So if your strategy there is people should have to find me, okay, like, you're entitled to your own strategy. I'm just saying, don't expect anyone to show up and buy your book. Even if it's the greatest book ever written, what you have is the cure for cancer that nobody knows about. So you're not really helping anybody. So I don't like it that way. I don't like it. I think that it should be the best ideas win. I think it should be the best, the smartest people should be the ones with the most followers. I think it should be the most researched person, should be the most trusted. But that ain't how it is, right?
True.
Like, I'm not saying I like this. I'm saying this is how it is. And if you want to change the game, you gotta play within the game that you're in. And this is the one that we're all in. So you got to get the word out. And the other thing is, I will say, is people don't have a great plan. Here's what their plan is. They either don't have a plan at all. And I get this call every day. In fact, I'm about to hop on a call in a few minutes with somebody whose book launch was last week or 2 weeks ago, and it didn't go the way that they had hoped. And they saw one of our clients who had a great launch, and then they called us. And that is the call I'm about to hop on.
Yep.
And every day, it's like every single week, we hear somebody says, hey, I have a book coming out in a month. Can you help me? And the answer is, yeah, we can help you. Like, we helped Tom and Lisa Bilyeu, like with Lisa's book. She hired us 14 days before the book came out. Wow. And we grew their sales like 33% in 14 days, like added a third to their total sales. So we have some stuff that can do it. But to move 117,000 units with Ed or 100,000 units with Eric Thomas, we're planning months in advance. And so you got to have a plan. So excellence never happens by accident. So yeah, you need to get going on this. And, you know, if you go, how are you going to move 10,000 books? Like, your answer is as good as anybody's. So you have to have a plan. And so that's what we help people do. And there's, you know, a whole bunch of tactics, but it's that mindset part that nobody is going to do this for you. True. If you want to make this happen, it's on you. So get busy.
Well, I'd say you got to take action. You got to have a plan behind that. I think the number one mistake that any author makes, even if you've got a platform, but I can't tell you how many authors I've seen, Rory, that they pour their heart and soul into a book. And there's a lot of great books, but they haven't built their platform. So the book comes out and they hope by it coming out, it's going to sell thousands of copies, and it ends up selling dozens or hundreds. Yeah. And it almost does the world a disservice because everyone's busy. You put your heart and soul into this because you have a full-time job and you're doing this as a side hustle. And then it comes out, oh, now I have to author it. What I would say is this: if there's an inkling, whether it be a book, you speaking, you want to get your message out, don't wait to build your brand. Don't wait to do that. Do it before you start to write the book, or as you're writing the book. You have to bifurcate and compartmentalize that, or bring on some experts who can help you do that, so you can follow the actual plan, so that when it comes out, you sell thousands of books or tens of thousands of books, because it's not as easy as, hey, I'm going to write it and build it, and they will come and they'll just start selling tens of thousands of books. So
yeah, you need to build the audience before you build the book. Like, you got to build the audience for the book. Like, people do it, like they write the book and then try to find the audience. Like, that's hard to do. You want to build the audience first and then write the book for them. And marketing is art. That's what you got to understand. Marketing is part of the art. But if you do that and you go out to serve people, you'll succeed.
I can hear the people clamoring now. Ask them about social media. Ask them about social media. That's the other $1 million question. But if there's
social media is not the secret to selling a lot of books, it's the lowest on our list of things that work. Like,
see, but what do people do? They go to social media.
That's what they think. And PR. That most people go, I'm going to get on. My strategy is I'll hire a publicist. My publicist will get me on the Today Show, and that'll sell my books. And that's not true, even if it happens. And just so you know, if you get on the Today Show, you might sell a few hundred copies from that hit. Like, even that one thing is not enough, maybe 1,000. But we have lots of clients that get on those shows, and we know they move like a few hundred copies, maybe a couple thousand at the most. Like, you have to do the work of finding people to read your, like, that is part of the art. It's creating the art and then building the audience for the art. That marketing is art. But if you think that PR and social media is your strategy, you're looking the wrong way, at least for how to move lots of units.
Man, Rory, I want to thank you for being on today's show, man. I hope that you can come back on a future show, because I feel like we can talk for hours, but thank you. Thank you so much.
It's
I
my
really
pleasure, brother.
appreciate that. My last question is this. This is the Impact Show. Impact is legacy. Impact is about influence. What is Rory Vaden's impact on the universe?
So, I mean, when you talk about my impact on the universe, I kind of separate it into family and professional, right? So,
Sure.
I'm a hardcore Bible thumping Jesus freak, and making sure that my two boys know that Jesus was a real person, and that he is who he claimed he was, and that he died, and that there's evidence and science and archaeology that support an actual resurrection, in addition to a faith. Making sure my boys know that is the most important thing. But professionally speaking, our message our mission at Brand Builders Group is to multiply the messengers. And we call them mission-driven messengers. That's who we serve, is mission-driven messengers. All of our clients care about money, and we care about money. We care a lot about money because we know you need money to accomplish the mission. But money is subservient to the mission. Revenue is subservient to reputation, right? It's like cash is subservient to the calling. Income is subservient to impact. So that's what it means to me, a mission-driven messenger. And for us, we want to multiply the messengers. I was building my brand. We were building my brand. My wife and I, AJ is the CEO of our company. She's been my partner from the beginning. She actually runs the company. I'm more like the CMO. And we've built this, and we said, hey, we can impact so many people through our brand. But man, if we could teach all the messengers the stuff that we've learned, and we could add up the reach of all of them, we could reach hundreds of millions of people. And that's what we're trying to do.
Last call for anyone that wants to follow you, Rory, on any of your channels, or to reach out to you and your team. What's the best way?
I would just go to freebrandcall.com/Durkin and start there. And then if you want to get plugged in, of course, I'm on Instagram and LinkedIn and all that, but I'd go to freebrandcall.com/Durkin and, let's get to know you.
Man, that is so good. I appreciate you. Thank you for what you're doing, Rory. You and your team, and AJ and Wheatley and your entire team. I can't wait to meet you down in Nashville in the near future. Thank you for what you do, and I can't wait to reconnect here soon.
Come on, buddy. So grateful for you.
Peace. God bless you, brother.
God bless.
We still have Rory Vaden here. I want to talk real quick question on this. Rory, how do you better monetize your brand? People always ask, well, I do all this social media. I do all this branding. How can you better monetize it?
Okay. Well, there's the fastest way to make a lot of money. Okay. There's only 5 ways to monetize a brand. We call them the paids, PAIDS, paids. So if you have a pile of followers, there's 5 mechanisms to turn them into a pile of cash. And these are the paids. The P is products. So you can create a physical product, right? I can create t-shirts. I can have wristbands. I can have calendars. I can sell water bottles, and I sell them a physical product. The A is ads and affiliates, which is I'm not selling my audience anything. I'm selling someone else access to my audience. Either they're paying to advertise to them, or I'm advertising for free and I'm getting a percentage of the sales that are made, which is affiliates. So ads and affiliates. I is information products, right? So I can sell courses, membership sites, certifications, assessments, ebooks, anything that's a digital information product. D is deals, which is where I get a third-party deal where someone pays me to create the art. So I can get a TV deal, a movie deal, a brand deal. I'm paid for the creation of the art. It's typically associated with a royalty. That's usually more advanced. And then the S is the fastest path to cash, which is services. The fastest way to monetize a personal brand is to provide a service. It's time in exchange for money. It's always the fastest way to make money. Now, it's the least scalable long-term, but it's the best way to make money short-term. So when you look for long-term business models, we encourage people to look for what we call the DARES, D-A-R-E-S. This is another acronym, and it stands for we're looking for models that are digital, automated, recurring, evergreen, and scalable. Digital, automated, recurring, evergreen, and scalable. Business models that have the most number of those characteristics tend to be the most profitable over time, but it's a balance in the short term. Services are how you get paid to make money. And I'll tell you this, the way to make money with social media is not to say, hey, everyone, click this link and go buy my thing, or to tell them. If you really want to make money fast from social media, you'll offer people a free call, Or say, shoot me a message. The dollars are in the DMs, as we like to say. Shoot me a message and let's chat in my DMs. And it is through one-on-one communication, just like sales has been done for years and years and years. If you want to sell high dollar offers, the best way to do that is on free calls or at least in the DMs through one-on-one communication, not one-to-many.
My last question, what do you think is the single greatest secret to growing a large online presence?
I mean, to growing a large online presence, it's save the best for first. Give away everything you know for free. Teach everything you know for free, but in small bite-sized chunks and all random order.
Interesting.
That's what we do. Everything we charge for, it's all available for free somewhere on the internet, somewhere in 60 seconds or 15 seconds or a one-liner. It's people don't pay for information. People pay for organization and application. People don't pay for information, they pay for organization and application. So you can give generously, abundantly, teach everything for free. That's how you build trust. That's how you keep people coming back, and that's how they'll eventually give you $1.
Money, that's money. Rory, thank you so much, brother. That was awesome.
My pleasure, brother. I look forward to staying in touch, Todd. I'll see you soon.
Awesome. All my impactors right here. We talk about Rory Vaden. I like that. Paids and dares. I love acronyms and paids and dares, products, ads, and affiliates. Information, deals, and services is paids. If you're looking to make money online or how you can monetize your personal brand. And dares, how you monetize your personal brand. Rory talked about you can either have a digital product, digital, automated, recurring revenue, evergreen products, which doesn't have a date on it. It can last for years. Or scalable, right? It's a scalable service, or it's a scalable model or course that you can have dozens, hundreds, or thousands of people take. So really, really great stuff there from Rory Vaden. And I'm really grateful that Rory spent some extra time with us sharing about that, because one of the questions I always get is, how do you monetize your personal brand? I never get into branding because, hey, I want to monetize it. But what you want to be able to do is, as he just said, organize your content information in a way that people can really go to it. Hence, even in this membership, right? We're in one spot where we can congregate and have the motivation, inspiration, wisdom, experience all in one spot. So I want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. If Rory can serve you in any way, if you feel like your brand right now needs a jump start, he is an amazing man, and his company, I've learned a lot in the last several months. Just check them out. Hop on a call with one of them. Again, it was freebrandcall.com/Durkin, freebrandcall.com/Durkin. Hop on a free call, see if they can help you. Because to me, brand building is something that we're always doing. It takes months, it takes years, heck, it takes decades to continue to build your brand. But I want to say thank you, thank you, thank you for being part of our community. And as always, like I just said previously, until next time, remember, train hard, eat right, live inspired, and create some impact today. God bless you. I love you. Peace. Wow. Oh, wow. Rory Vaden. Rory, remember the name Rory Vaden, Brand Builders Group. Thank you so much for dropping so much wisdom. I love the topic of personal branding. And over the last 2 decades, as I've built up my own personal brand, we've got Fitness Quest 10. We have Todd Durkin, right? That's Todd Durkin is a personal brand. Fitness Quest 10 is our brick and mortar fitness center. Within TDE, there's a lot of different businesses, right? There's the mastermind group, and there's Impact X, and I have speaking and coaching, and we have products, and we have our new QB Strong program and Todd Durkin University. As Rory was talking, I'm like, how the heck did Lewis Howes go from 17 different revenue streams down to 3? But I'm committed to actually working with Rory and his team as well to get better, to get streamlined, because my vision and my goal and desire and ambition is to help more people. I want to impact more people. And as I've shared with you, my mission, my meaningful mission is to, how can I impact 10 million people in my lifetime? It starts one by one on this podcast. So I share that with you because whether you're a doctor, you're a lawyer, you're a police officer, a firefighter, a coach, a trainer, an entrepreneur, a mom or dad, we all probably have the desire to do good in the world. And as we look to somewhat scale that to go beyond our dozens of people potentially that we reach. Maybe it's hundreds or thousands, or maybe someday millions, because we never know. But Rory Vaden and his team are a great resource for each and every one of you. So don't be hesitant. If you want a discovery call, just check him out. Again, he gave you that address there to check out, freebrandcall.com/Durkin, freebrandcall.com/Durkin. Check it out. Hop on a call with one of their great teammates. I'm really pumped up to spend more time with them, as I said, but this is a topic that I really want to be spending more time on. Why? Because as I've shared, I've been really trying to level up my brand in the last 6 months. We've really been trying to spend more and more time, and not just on the website and the logos and the icons, all things that Rory said is not just branding, but it's part of branding. It's part of branding. And I love that Rory talks about reputation and trust, because you've got to build a reputation and you got to build trust over years and years and decades, so people will listen to you, follow you, trust you, that you can be a positive influence in the world, personally or professionally. So thank you for listening. If this was of great value for you today, can you please share it? Can you please share it with your community? That's one of the best ways that you can help us and help our brand grow to impact more people, is to share these episodes that we love doing and that I personally love doing. I'm so blessed to be able to interview guys like Rory Vaden on the show, and you're going to be getting a lot more on branding. Personal branding, what we're doing with the TD brand to make sure that we can impact more people. If I can serve you in any other way, please let me know how I can best help you, what is speaking to you. And as always, drop me a couple questions, because we do these Q&A sessions now. And if it's on branding, drop me a question. If it's on leadership, if it's on entrepreneurism or parenting, I love to know what's on your mind. So don't be hesitant to ask. Share today's episode. Until next time, remember, always, you got to train hard. You must eat right. Go live inspired and create impact today. God bless you. I love you. Until next time, we out.